Well, welcome back, folks. I thought I'd do an update on what I've been up to over the last few weeks since I concluded the Suzuki TS50 project. And if you recall in that last video, if you watched it, I did discuss what I was going to do next, or what I was thinking in terms of my next projects. And the primary thing I was talking about in that video was the 1971 Kawasaki F5 350 Bighorn, preparing it for sale, which I actually have now done. Didn't shoot any video on it. I did bring into the work bay here, put it up on the ramp, on the stand, checked over the carburetor. I pulled it apart and cleaned it just to make sure it looked good. Checked all the fluids, etc. I did, in the internals of the fuel tank had a slight surface coating of rust, so I stripped the rust off the fuel tank and put everything back together. Checked the air pressure and pumped up the tires, chain adjustment, those kind of things. Rode it up and down the driveway, started right up, ran it up down the driveway a few times, and it ran fine. Does have a little slip in the clutch, so I think the clutch is going to need a little attention from the next owner. I am not intending to do that. And here eventually I'm going to go ahead and sell that when I get around to it. I haven't decided yet exactly how I'm going to do that, but it will be going up for sale here eventually. Since then, I've been looking for another project, and I have it in a shop here right next to me, and we'll go cut over to that in just a minute. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. But this project I've been thinking about for actually years. This is not new. It's not motorcycle related, not even close, as you're going to find out here in a moment. Something way out in left field, or at least some of you might think it's out in left field for me. It actually isn't, and I'll explain that in just a moment. But I've been toying with this, getting a project like this for years, literally. And since I was really in between things, do I go on ahead and start on the lathe, that South Bend lathe? What's next going into the winter months? This is autumn or fall. This is October, actually, of 2024. So I want to get something set up for the winter months where, we don't spend much time outside here in our climate in the wintertime unless you're into winter sports. So I've been toying with the idea of doing something, and this is what I found. So give me a second to reposition the camera, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. What you're looking at is a early 1950 Ford 8N tractor. Now I had an earlier version of this tractor in the late 90s. I had a 1939 Ford 9N, which is similar to this tractor, 2 generations before this particular machine. And I traded that in, or sold it, and bought I think it was a 55 or 56 Ford 860. Kept that a few years, and then I traded that in and bought my current New Holland, 2000 New Holland small diesel tractor that I still have. And that is my working tractor I've had for about 24 years now, and that's a nice little tractor. Anyway, I've been thinking about getting this for tinkering, really, just to putter around with. I'm not intending to restore it. So if you're thinking this is going to be a frame-off kind of restoration, that's not in the cards. What I want to do is mechanically get it, in good condition. It does run. I'll start it up here for you in a moment. But it does run. It runs fine. It drives fine. There is a problem with the 3-point hydraulics. It doesn't lift. So this winter I'm going to tear into the hydraulics, probably go through them, rebuild. You can get all the parts of this, believe it or not, that you want. You can get everything but major castings, either reproduction or still new. So parts are not an issue in terms of availability. But I'll go through the hydraulics, rebuild the pump and the top cover and whatever. I've never done that before, but we'll figure it out. But the engine runs fine. It starts fine. I did have to put a new tire on it the other day, which I knew when I bought it. I got this from my neighbor across the street. It was his father's. And one day, a few weeks ago, I was just asking him if he knew where there's a Ford 8N. And he said, I got one. And I said, oh, really? I didn't know that. And long story short, I bought it, and here it is. And he delivered it about 5 or 6 days ago, drove it up the driveway. And it did have a loader on it, by the way, which I didn't want. So he pulled the loader off because I just wanted the bare tractor. And my intention, besides just tinkering with it, is to use it for brush cutting. I have a 4-foot Woods tow behind brush cutter, and that's what I'll use it for in the summer season, so I don't have to put the brush cutter on and off my other tractor. I'll just leave it on this one during the summer. So my intention is to start working out of here, change the oil, do the filters, open up the hydraulic system in the rear end, see what's going on there, and make a winter project of it so that next spring at least I can start then using it for brush hogging. So I'm going to go ahead and start it quickly here for you so you can see how it starts, how it runs, and then I will move the camera around and give you a shot of the back end of the unit. So as you saw, it started right up. That engine was stone cold. It has not been running 24 hours. It's a 6-volt positive ground. That was original to these tractors. Many of them were converted to 12 volts later on. This one is still original, which is, again, perfectly fine for me. The owner, previous owner, did install a new 6-volt battery. So it's got a new battery in it. It's got a little bit of a miss in it. Not a big deal. We'll figure that out. And you can see there where it's, oop, I bumped the camera. See right there, she is dripping a few fluids and marking its spot. Again, I think that's oil, by the way, not fuel. Not surprising. This tractor is, what, 74 years old, and not a surprise. And I'm not terribly worried about that. But she does start right up, she does run good, and everything seems to be fine except for that 3-point. So let me move the camera around to the back and I'll show you what it looks like back there. So there's the rear view of the unit. The operator seat right here is not original. That looks like an office chair someone probably stripped the foam and cover off of. I will track down a good used seat. They're all over out there, and in fact I think you can even buy repops. I prefer to have a used one that would match the patina of the tractor, because this is not, again, a cosmetic restoration. And there's a number of other odds and ends that I'm going to have to take care of, such as that seat. But my primary focus is on the mechanicals, getting the hydraulics to work. You can see, for those of you who are not familiar with tractors, there's the lift arms here and here. It is missing the top link, which will go right up in here. Again, pick those up all over, both new and used. Does have the original rear fenders over the tires, which are a little rusty, but again, not too concerned about it. That light on the back of the seat, in fact, I know is not original, and I'll take that off eventually, etc. Meters both work. It's got amp meter and an oil pressure gauge. Those both seem to be working. So I'm going to begin with doing a basic service, change the engine oil. It's got a canister type engine oil filter, an oil bath air cleaner, and then eventually I'll get into the rear end here and figure out what's going on with hydraulics. There's one other thing I want to show you real quick. I bought a set of documentation, as you can see here. I actually bought this, the middle and the shop manual, and then the parts catalog. Those are reproductions. The owner's or operator's manual on the left, actually I got with the tractor from the previous owner, and I believe this is an original operator's manual. I don't think it's original for this tractor, because the copyright is 1952, and my tractor, I know based on the serial numbers, and there's a lot of documentation on these machines out there. Serial number tells me it's an early 50. I'm very confident in that. So that's, someone bought that, but it is, I think, a 1952 operator's manual. Reproduction. This is all the parts parts listings, part numbers. As you can see, I've been going through there, making notes of all the assemblies. And this is just the service manual. Both of these were recommended. Everything I could discover looking online recommended these two. And those will be my reference materials going forward. So that's it for today. I thought I'd just do a brief little introduction on my latest project, which is totally different from what I've been working on for years. Again, it's been in the back of my mind for some time, and I thought now is a good time going into the winter. I'm not sure how much I'm going to document in terms of videos for YouTube. We'll see as we get into it. I might do little bits and pieces. Again, this is not a restoration. I'm just going to get the mechanicals sorted out, get everything settled in and working well, and I'm not too concerned about the cosmetics at this time. Any issues, questions, thoughts, drop me a note. Otherwise, as usual, thanks for watching.